right, Nick, let's talk about the defending back-to-back Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. They've made a big move here in the first couple of days of free agency. I think it's something that's going to be really smart down the road for the Chiefs. I think this is a great signing for them, someone they get the fullest potential out of. Let's get on into the article, and then I want to get your thoughts on it on the other side. This course from USA Today says, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, Cincinnati Bengals free agent tight end Irv Smith Jr. has agreed to terms on a one-year deal with the Chiefs. The reported agreement adds another dynamic option for Patrick Mahomes to play alongside Travis Kelce or provide rest moments in games. Nick, I think this is great because, as I said, Smith in times throughout his career has been a dynamic playmaker, very athletic tight end. I think it could be a great weapon for Patrick Mahomes, someone he can get the most out of. I'm curious what your thoughts are, but Chiefs fans, let us know in the comment section below. This seems like an unbeatable team. This seems like a team that can really take it the distance every single time. But you know as well as anybody what the holes are on this team. So throughout free agency and going into the draft, what are you looking for the Chiefs to pick up going down the stretch? Let us know what position group really needs the most help in the comment section below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on this latest pickup by the Chiefs?
Yeah, I think it's one of the smartest kind of under the radar signings we've seen yet during this free agency cycle. And I think if you look back a few weeks ago, there were reports that throughout the entire regular season run, the Chiefs were very smart how they managed starting tight end Travis Kelce's playing time. He was only playing about 70% of the snaps, according to the Chiefs. He normally would have. They were very smart. They said, hey, we're going to rest you. We're going to not play you as much as we need to in certain situations because we want to save you for the postseason run. And it obviously worked out. Kelce had an incredible postseason. And of course, they won the Super Bowl. So it clearly was a smart move there. But in order to do that, especially as your team gets a little bit older, you need quality backups who have been there before and have proved themselves capable of making plays. And the Kansas City Chiefs are facing a reality of a division that's getting a little bit better. The Chargers under Harbaugh with Herbert, they're going to be better. The Raiders, I mean, you saw what the Raiders did to Kansas City towards the end of the season in Kansas City. This is going to be a feisty bunch going forward. I think the Broncos, there's a lot of question marks, but I still think Sean Payton's a solid coach. I think he'll figure something out there. I think the AFC West is going to be a little tougher than it has been over the past half decade or so. So if you're going to do this load management with Travis Kelce, which they should, by the way, to save him for a postseason run and go after a three-peat, you need to have a cadre of second-tier playmakers that can step up and handle those 30% of snaps that Kelce's going to be resting as he's taking his 70% of snaps as opposed to his normal allotment. And Irv Smith Jr. is the perfect guy to do this. This is a guy who had success as kind of the second guy in Minnesota for a number of years, was very productive, athletic, big play guy, was again catching about 30, 40 balls a season, about 35, 36 balls a season, multiple touchdowns, big play guy as kind of the second, third, fourth option for a very explosive Vikings offense. He goes to Cincinnati. A lot of people thought he was going to finally break out being the number one tight end there potentially. The problem there, Joe Burrow gets hurt during training camp. Irv Smith, new to Cincinnati. By the time Burrow comes back, they're doing like kind of beaten down offense. Irv Smith, new guy, not involved. By the time Irv Smith builds some momentum, what happens? Burrow has his hand injury. Burrow's out for the year. They bring in Jake Browning. At that point, Cincinnati just kind of scraps anything new and they stick with what they normally have done with Chase and Higgins and their normal wide receivers. Irv Smith's the odd man out, and he has his worst year of his career. The Chiefs picking him up at the perfect time. He's a great fit. He's going to come in right away and allow Kelce to take those reps off, which, by the way, I think there's a strong chance that Travis Kelce may only pay 55 or 60% of his normal regular season snaps to make sure he's extra fresh and healthy for a postseason push. Because I think Irv Smith is one of the more underrated tight ends in football. I think he'll earn more playing time as the season progresses, allow him to step up in big moments where Kelce can relax a little bit. And again, right now, the Chiefs, their mindset, rightly so. They've got the pieces in place. They've got a veteran group across most of their roster. Obviously, great coaching staff, Mahomes, the whole kit caboodle. They just need to make sure they have everything in play in terms of injuries and rest for another postseason run to get their three-peat. And I think this signing by Irv Smith will help them do just that.
Yeah, Nick, and it seems like in his career, excuse me, Irv Smith has been a guy who did a lot with a little bit as far as receptions go. You look in 2020, the year that he was probably the most productive, with 30 catches, he got 5 touchdowns. I think that's crazy because Travis Kelce, he got 5 touchdowns last year with 93 receptions. I mean, Irv Smith is a guy who I think he can rise to the occasion, be that guy, whether it's in the red zone, whether it's a guy that's a little bit more athletic, gets some, long balls. He took one for 36 yards before in 2020 as well. He was just a guy who was averaging 12.2 yards a catch that season. I think that was the season we need to judge him off of as far as his best ability. And I think he'll probably be even a little bit better than that with the Chiefs, just because they're going to be able to utilize a guy like Irv Smith Jr. a lot. But I just want to say he's a guy that I think can rise to the occasion, be the perfect guy to slot in every once in a while. He can do a lot with limited receptions. And I think this was a big time, under the radar move for the Kansas City Chiefs. So they buy low, and everyone's going to see Irv Smith Jr. and see exactly what this guy is capable of.
And I think it's important to understand, if you're going for another title run, if you're going for a three-peat like the Chiefs obviously are, you don't want to rely on rookies and kids, right? The Chiefs already have to do that a lot, and it's worked out in a lot of ways. Obviously, Rashee Rice had an outstanding season, but sometimes they don't work out, right? Look at Sky Moore. He looked like he could be a great object, and he could still become a great playmaker early in his career, a great object in his offense, but he really hasn't done that, right? He's really disappointed across the board. You don't want to rely on young guys. They obviously traded for Kadarius Toney, young guy from the New York Giants. He obviously had his issues with the Kansas City Chiefs, and basically his career, I think, may be over at this point. You don't want to rely on those guys if you're going for that three-peat, if you're going for another title. You want to rely on guys who have been through some adversity, a guy who know how to handle himself. And this is a guy in Irv Smith who's been there, right? He's battled through serious injuries. He's already changed teams before. Everyone says nothing but good things about him in terms of what he does in the locker room. He's perfectly okay playing second fiddle, right? This is a guy who went to Cincinnati when they had Boyd, when they had Chase, when they had Higgins, and they had Mixon, right? So he knew he was going to be what, fifth and sixth best case scenario in terms of getting touches in the offense. He's like, no problem. I'm perfectly okay with that. It didn't work out in Cincinnati, but he has the right headspace and the right maturity to come to Kansas City and be just the guy to give Kelsey rest and allow this offense to work without him when those situations are present. I think that's going to be really important for Kansas City going forward. They remind me of one of those old NBA teams. I say old, the aging NBA teams at the tail end of their dynasty trying to squeeze out another title run or two. This Chiefs roster feels a lot like that. We're like, okay, we want to get through the regular season in a good position, and then we'll be fine. We just need to find a way to get through those 17 games. It worked for Kansas City in 2023, obviously, and I think they're following that same strategy for 2024. And with a signing like Irv Smith, I think there's a great chance it'll work out for them.